I saw a lot of interesting vehicles at the 2026 New York Auto Show, but one of the most interesting ones was also the only one I got to drive, the Honda FastPort. This last-mile delivery vehicle is both relatively simple and yet an exceptional piece of engineering. Near the ground you have 4 wheels, full independent suspension, hydraulic brakes, and a rear-mounted electric motor. Up front, the driver sits on a bicycle seat, steers with bicycle handlebars, and the most interesting part is the pedal-by-wire system. There is no chain or drive shaft heading to any of the wheels. An onboard computer is taking your pedal input and turning it into a level of throttle to propel you forward. In the back is a modular cargo area. I've only seen 2 box options, and it looks like they are for 2 size configurations of the vehicle. I drove the larger of those 2. So what is it like to drive? Even though the form factor is unusual, it was oddly intuitive for someone that already knows how to drive a car and ride a bike. Although the pedals are just like a bike and you can immediately tell that you're not driving the wheels yourself, it is instantly intuitive, which is great for anyone that is freshly hired by a delivery company utilizing these. Starting to move in a FastPort is easier than a bicycle or a car. I am not sure if the vehicle I was using had any sort of theft deterrent on it. If it did, it was almost certainly turned off for the sake of the demo. A power button on the left handle releases the automatic parking brake, and you can begin pedaling to your first drop-off location. There are regenerative systems on board, but I forgot how to utilize them after I set off, so I did not try them out. I did try the brakes though, and they were superb. Strong without any drama. Just like on a bike, you actually get manual control over the front and rear brakes individually. Using just one or the other can reliably slow down the vehicle, so that provides some great safety redundancy in the unlikely event of a brake failure. Speaking of safety, the FastPort manages to put a frame around the driver but still maintain incredibly good visibility. You get side view mirrors, potentially in varying configurations, an always-on reverse camera in the middle of the handlebars, and a large windshield that even gets a windscreen wiper. For storage, there are currently 2 length configurations. The one I drove was the longer one, but there is a smaller size that would trade off some cargo capacity for potential ease of use in more cramped environments. The current weight limit is 650 pounds or 295 kilograms for the large and 320 pounds or 145 kilograms for the smaller format. I'll put the 2 box size dimensions on screen, but the box isn't necessarily the way you will see these. The back can be adapted to the needs of the business, and I speculate that DIY designs may be possible. But many of the rear lights are attached to the box, so if a DIY approach is possible, some wiring will have to be involved. The electrical energy source for this vehicle is a pair of Honda Mobile Power Pack batteries, which aren't some new just for this vehicle type of battery. The form factor was introduced in 2017, and the following year it made its way into its first electric scooter. The form factor was so well engineered that it became an accepted standard for a consortium of manufacturers, so it is no longer even exclusive to Honda. All that is to say the batteries in this make a lot of sense for the business, because even if Honda discontinues the FastPort, the battery form factor is likely to live well beyond it. Not only that, but since its introduction, there has been a new part number introduced with over 25% more amp hours, so potential battery improvements in the future may extend the FastPort's already reasonable projected range of 20 miles in the large form and 23 miles in the small. That may sound like a low range compared to an electric car, but this is a last mile delivery vehicle we're talking about. Not to mention the batteries are easily swapped, so if for some reason you have to go more than 10 miles away from the reload point, you can bring a spare pair of batteries and swap them out. Or if this is going to be used to move things around a vast property, you can set up battery charging hubs at common stop areas. They are lithium batteries, so they weigh less than half of a typical Group 65 lead acid battery. As great as this vehicle was, there were some improvements I think could be made. Although during my brief ride, I didn't feel the need to lean back on a seat back, a cushion at the back could provide a little added comfort, or some padding that could really help if one of these things gets rear-ended. The demo model had nothing between me and the cargo box. I know cushion assemblies can add some considerable weight, but I imagine a small, lightweight solution could go a long way. The control box and mini screen are a big area that is holding this back from being an engineering work of art. The regenerative system is great, but if you realistically think about employees that are going to be using this, how many of them are going to exert energy pedaling backwards to regenerate power and save their boss some money? I just don't see that happening. I can see a regenerative setting lever working though, so each driver can dial in what they want to expect passively, so the regeneration regularly happens when pedaling stops. The only folks I can see pedaling backwards to do it are the self-employed that actually own and use the vehicle themselves, and people that took the delivery job for the natural workout benefits. Overall, this vehicle seems incredibly well tailored to the last mile delivery and cramped environments that it was designed for. Since cities across the US are trying to induce demand their way into bicycle utopias right now, I think the use case for this sort of vehicle is going to become more and more apparent as time goes on. Even in cities without huge green paint budgets, the FastPort makes sense. I drove this on the first press day of the 2026 New York Auto Show, and I would like to show some appreciation to the staff that managed to make time for me between two potential clients near the end of the day. Everyone I interacted with was both friendly and professional. Thanks everyone for watching Cars Simplified.
So basically,